All right. So, obviously, the first thing that you need to remember in this exam is the differences in the interdependence of business and society. You want to make sure that you remember the ways that they're an interactive system, um, knowing what a stakeholder is, and analyzing um, those continuous changes within business and society that continue to reshape the, the dependence of each other and how they can affect each other, and obviously corporate social responsibility. So remembering that a business is an organization that strives for profit, right? So we went through, what various things, various levels of businesses, but for this exam, know this definition, right? That a business looks for a profit, right? And the services desired by customers. Know what society is. So the human beings and the structures of society that are collectively created. And then just remember that they're dependent on each other, right? They need each other in order for each to continue moving forward, growing, expanding, etc. So the purpose of a firm is not always simply to make a profit, but creating value. Make sure that the stakeholders are always taken into consideration when you think of this, that businesses need to meet various levels of economic and social objectives in order to be successful. Um, Please be ready to possibly share an example of how business and society can be interdependent of each other. Remember that a stakeholder refers to persons or groups that are affected by decisions, policies, operations of an organization. We talked about us being stakeholders at Barton. What that means is a faculty member, a staff member, a student, an athlete, right? Um, but always remember that stakeholder is not interchangeable with the word stockholder, right? So know that difference. There will be a question on that. So you want to think of stake. You have stake in something is you have interest in it, right? So just remember that you don't want to mess that question up. Um, so we're going to talk about brand positioning, obviously, on the exam. I want for you to be able to know that how businesses will establish, maintain a competitive advantage among other businesses. Your competitive brand positioning refers to who you're selling to, what your business scope is, what you do to create value for your customers. Remember the drive. We'll talk about the 5 Ps in a minute. So you want to also remember these terms, right? You want to think about customer value, satisfaction, the culture of customers, right? So various different customer cultures will have different values and ideas, attitudes. Just thinking back to comments, about even just today about Apple being used in difference of Europe and here. So think about things like that. Remember that the culture of a customer is dependent on society, right? You also want to remember marketing, and it is the process of discovering needs and wants of the potential buyers and customers. You want to think about pricing strategies, okay? You also want to be able to define a product. We'll talk about the 5 Ps again in a minute. So I will ask you some things about being brand loyal. I will ask you questions specifically about your experiences as a customer. That will be more of an opinionated question, a reflection question, hoping that you will use terms that you've learned in class. So I want you to think about the images, the logos, celebrities, colors, the sounds that bring you back to a respective brand, right? So you want to think about the term competition in general, right? So it's being on top, right? It's winning. So you want to think about the sales, the profit, the market share, and having the best combination of price, quality, and service. In marketing, again, this is a duplicate, but I just want you to remember, it's important to think about having the right goods, right, the right services, having the right people in the right places, because the promotion techniques make a difference. Think about, marketing Zoom 2 years ago and 10 years ago. How long did it take Zoom to get really popular? Everybody can Zoom these days. 10 years ago, it was a much lower percentage. So I want for you to be able to think in that critical thinking mindset, right? I want you to be able to think about what does it mean to be able to sell pickle lip balm, right? What does it mean to be able to sell pickle? Think outside the box. Think about those 5 Ps. Think about how you would create your own marketing strategy if given that opportunity on the exam. So the concept is based on that right principle, right? You have to have the data to focus on what your customers need, right? We talked a little bit about that. We talked about the 5 Ps of putting them together and how that intersection of those 5 Ps really come out with that right marketing concept. Relationship marketing is the strategy that focuses on that long-term partnership with customers. So that brand loyalty, again, right? Thinking back to the various brands, what makes you think of Coca-Cola, what makes you think of Disney, right? So I want you to be able to think about your brand loyalty to Ulta or Target or Starbucks. How do they market to you that make you continue to come back? It's with those 5 Ps, right? So I want you to be able to tell me what a product is. Okay. Remember, they could be goods, services, they could be ideas. If you were in class the first day we talked about this, I said it was hard for me originally to think of an idea as a product, right? Services, absolutely, but products can be intangible, right? So remember that. Price, thinking about, the exchange of something for something. So you can exchange, blood for the feel good, that feeling of giving back, right? Or get a t-shirt for it sometimes, right? But I want for you to be able to think about the exchange of something for a product. Think about rent, fees, charges, tuition, right? All those things have different aspects when they come to quote price. And the place is important because you have to think about the transportation, location, think about their online presence, right? So there are so many different important layers of the quote place. If it's not transported quickly enough, then it's not sold. Think about everything right now with the shipping crisis. That transportation lag is affecting sales. It's affecting, holiday sales. It's affecting those marketing strategies that have been thought of for the last 6 months. And now the products aren't able to get on the shelves, right? Think about supply chain management, right? And it actually getting to the buyer. So that third party, and if they have, they don't have enough truck drivers to get the product to, the store. Think about that. Online presence. We talked a lot about Amazon. We talked about, advertisements on Facebook. So all these things are, important. Promotion. We talked a lot about those Facebook advertisements. We talked about different promotions, how they are, how, different products are available in these different components. So if you get asked a question specifically of a difference in a promotion between 2 products, I want you to be able to talk about it. I want you to be able to say, the differences, or I would buy Nike over Reebok, right? Because of the promotion, because of the advertising, because of the celebrities. Okay? So think about all of those things when you think about promotion. But know what the definition of these 5 Ps are. People are crucial, right? They are used in various methods from the creation of a product right to the organization of the employees. So know what people are when it comes to the 5 Ps. All right, everything in class. Corporate social responsibility. Know corporate social responsibility. Know what it means. I want you to be able to give me as close to this definition as possible, right? How does corporate social responsibility help with companies? How do companies profit? Maybe not intentionally. It is intentional, but how do they do better when they have strong corporate social responsibility? Think about Tom's and giving a pair of shoes every time they sell a pair of shoes. A lot of you did really good presentations on corporate social responsibility and what it means to give back to a community, to a school, to a specific demographic of people. And I want you to think, is it ethical in various situations, right? I want you to think about workplace situations. Is it right to fire someone? We talked about, the workplace ethics, and if someone's not pulling their weight, would you fire them or would you try to build them up? Would you give them constructive criticism? So the behavior with honesty and fairness, integrity. We also talked about corporate reputation. So corporate reputation ties into being ethical. And you have to have the trust of your consumers and your stakeholders. Increase sales, show, a reflection of a corporate reputation, employment satisfaction. It's easy to hire someone to do a job, but it's harder to retain them, right? And if you continually have to replace an employee and recruit new employees, that can be more expensive for a company, right? Think about giving a company needing grace, right? If they have to bounce back from a scandal or some sort of negative news. Kind of touched on this a minute ago, but the management and leadership, tying this in to ethics and ethical behavior, right? So I want you to think about leadership and guiding, motivating others, right? What does it take to be a good leader? What does it take to lead an organization, as small as Barton or as large as Apple? I want for you to know what it means to have a good leadership style. Setting your tone at the top is a big piece of leadership. Being able to lead by example, have that safe mechanism for reporting, being able to reward integrity, just having a strong ethical behavior from the top to the bottom of all organizations and what it means. To set your tone at the top. We didn't talk about the marketplace, so you will not have anything on that. So essay responses, I do expect you to have at least 500 words for each essay. I encourage you all to type your essays in Google Docs or Microsoft Word and then paste them into the essay response in Canvas. I do the same. So when you submit an essay, I copy it out and I paste it into a Word doc, and I read it, and then I double check your your spelling, your grammar, your punctuation, etc. So make sure you've got 500 words on each essay. So for discussion questions, think about who's fostered trust in the corporate world, right? You can tie in corporate social responsibility, ethics. You can tie in who that company is responsible for. I want for you to think about how corporate social responsibility can affect the company. I want you to think strategically. I want you to think outside the box, right? You may have a critical thinking question related to the 5 Ps of marketing. And you may have a question asking you what you've learned this semester and how you'll implement it into your intended profession. So you will have